Alright, YouTube, let's go do our weekly FSD and Chat. Gonna hit Starbucks, get some coffee, and then probably head out to Wayside Inn. We just got the new version of FSD 11.4.9, came out with the holiday update with everybody else. Directions to Starbucks. Let's see what it gives us for a nav this morning. Let's see if it'll take this back route this time, if I select it. It did. Nice. Alright. We'll get it started and I'll kick it off. Alright. I think we're going the right way, yeah. Cool. Oops. Extra cautious this morning. I have done a couple of short drives with 11.4.9, but this will be the first kind of legit test. Like normal, I'm doing it pretty early in the day. As you can see, the sun's not even up. It's 6:03. Headed to Starbucks to get an order. Actually, I forgot to put my order in. I'll do it when we get there, I guess. Very cautious, but no humans to annoy this time of day, so I mostly let the car do it at once. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit more speed here. Just a little bit. Still waking up, so it's gotta get some coffee maybe before I'm super talkative. I know one of my my very first subscribers to this channel, Scott Johnson, I believe is his name, wanted me to talk about FSD and the cost related to FSD this morning. So we'll definitely do some of that. We actually are still on a 3-month free trial. So when you buy a Tesla, if you use a referral code from somebody else, you get 3 months of FSD and they get like some store points. So if you guys are thinking about buying a Tesla, look down in my description here and you'll find my referral code. And you can use that when you go to buy a Tesla, and that will get you kind of the same deal we got, 3 months of FSD, because we use a referral code as well. On the other side of this, 3 months, the question is, will we buy FSD for $12,000, rent it for $199 a month, or go without it? All right, we're coming to this roundabout. It always does a little strange here. Actually, it's kind of weird. I kind of figured it out. Again, it's early in the morning, so I'm letting it do its thing. Got it. Yeah, pretty good there. Pretty good. I'm thinking that we're probably gonna do the lease it for $199 a month, and see how that goes for a while. When I eventually someday get a Cybertruck, I probably will pay the $12,000 to have. Just to own it outright with that truck. The Cybertruck has a front camera into the bumper. I'm of the opinion that those cameras are actually useful, very useful. Right now we have 3 cameras kind of up here at the top, and while that's good, it does give this car more visibility than I actually get from where I'm sitting. I think the car could be safer around intersections like this. For instance, this is a major road up here that we're coming out on. I mean, we have a red light, so it's not a big deal. But a lot of times you come up to a red light and you're going to merge onto this road, and the car just kind of like really takes its time creeping up. And the truth is that the nose is far enough out there. If it has some cameras that can see off to the side from the nose of the car, I think it can make safer, faster decisions. And so the Cybertruck has that camera. So I think with the Cybertruck, I probably will buy FSD outright, because I think the architecture of the vehicle will be right. I think the software is going to be solved by then. Yeah, you know, is it worth it? I think that depends on you, really on the user of it. I'm an investor in Tesla, so it's worth it to me to be able to keep up with the state of the art with where they're at with FSD. Do I need it to drive around town? No. In fact, most of the time when I'm using it, I have disengagements because I don't want to annoy the humans that are around me. On long drives, like if you're a commuter, it's worth it. I mean that even if you're a commuter into, like, say, we're going to go on the front entrance this time. If you're just a commuter into downtown Boston, working, doing rush hour, yeah, it's worth it, man. When you're in stop and go traffic, FSD is amazing. What are we doing here? We gotta go through the it's kind of cutting through the lanes here a little bit. I'm just letting it do its thing. If this was later in the day, I would have already taken it out of FSD and I'd be driving. But this is early in the morning. The store's not even open yet, so it's not a big deal. What are we doing here? Well, this is that was not good. That was funny. It gets really confused in the parking lot, guys. Like, it doesn't. I'm not sure it all the way understands what's going on over here, but it is going to navigate me right around to the other side of Whole Foods to this Starbucks. But we can't go in that drive-thru, so I'm going to take over. They wanted to go the reverse way through the drive-thru. That won't work. So I am going to come up here and park, and then go in and get some coffee. All right, we got some coffee. Got me Americano, and my wife her standard iced coffee. We are going to head out to Wayside Inn. Just do a little cruise out there, see how it does. See what it says. Navigate the parking lot today. Yeah, run into that truck. What are you doing? I like letting it play with itself in the parking lot sometimes just to see how it'll do. With the person in that car probably wondering what in the world I'm doing. What you doing, car? I'm just really confused right now. All right. Alright, just a quick overview. I know I didn't do this when I started. It was telling me to pay attention. This is a new alert with the so-called 2 million car recall that they had. When I click this down and drive, it puts it in FSD. That's the blue line you see. Whenever this blue line's on the screen, the car has full control. I'm always touching the steering wheel. You don't have to, although technically you agree that you're going to. I just touch it because it's in front of me. It's the most comfortable place for my hands. And ultimately, you know, I am the one in control of this vehicle. If this thing misbehaves, I have to take over. And it does misbehave at times. Alright, so that's pretty much the update. If I want to disengage it, I can turn the steering wheel really hard. I can hit the brake, and I can also take the gear shifter up. Alright, so back to Scott's question about, is FSD worth it? Or the cost of it. The cost of it's pretty straightforward, right? It's $12,000 if you buy it outright. It's $199 if you do the monthly lease of it. A lot of people are like, well, why would you buy it outright? That would take you so long for the monthly lease. The reason to potentially buy it outright is that as the software gets better and better and is eventually solved, it's going to be worth a heck of a lot more than $12,000. Will you still be able to get it for a monthly lease of $199 when that happens? I honestly don't know. I don't think any of us know. It's hard to know how it plays out. You know, it's not cheap. You know, so the reality is it's just not cheap. But this is a robot. What do you want me to say? This is a literal robot. This car is driving itself right now. I'm just going to look around, make sure there's no traffic. There's not. Be really careful. This time of day, it's totally fine. There's no humans to annoy. When there's humans around and it's that careful, it's a little bit annoying for the humans. There's just no way around that. It for sure is. Another one of these just almost slams on the brakes right here. Not good, car. Alright, you gotta get out there. So far, I would judge this version as a tad more cautious than the other version. I keep the car on assertive mode in hopes that it will be more human-like. I don't honestly notice a lot of difference between assertive and regular or standard mode. So kind of back to FSD. Is it worth it? I think it is, personally, for me. I mostly drive it around town. I don't have long commutes in and out of the city in rush hour and stuff like that. If I did, it would be even more worth it. In the rush hour commute when it's just stop and go traffic, being able to turn this thing on and let it just take care of keeping distance between cars and basic navigation stuff on the highway, that would definitely make the rush hour commute less stressful. And that's a commute I used to do a lot for years. And thankfully, I work from home these days. I don't have to drive in and out of Boston anymore. Not a bad turn. If I'm completely honest, the only time that it's super, super useful for us is when we take road trips back home to New York to see my wife's family. On the highway, it's amazing. Like, it's, you're still going to be paying attention. You still want to be paying attention at this point in time. I'm pretty sure that in a few years from now, these cars are going to be probably safer than humans. But right now, they're not. On the highway, they definitely enhance your safety. I'm not going to say that it's safer than a human on the highway outright, because the truth is it probably is safer than humans in like 90% of the circumstances, right? But that other 10% where it's not, it's really not safer. And so you really do have to pay attention. So it's like your driver assist. I mean, this thing is it's watching with you, and I think as long as you treat it that way, you're going to get really good mileage out of it. So on long trips, it makes it less stressful for me personally, significantly less so. I will say that the first few times that you're getting used to FSD driving, it is not necessarily less stressful. It doesn't always drive exactly like a human would drive. Sometimes the corners can be a little jerky. My biggest gripe is it'll decide to pull out into an intersection, and then once it's like in the middle of the intersection, it really slows down, and it's like, I don't want to be in an intersection, guys. I want to move through the intersection. But on the highway between like here in Albany, New York, it's amazing. So I guess it's a personal decision. People have to kind of decide what's worth it for them and what's not. There's a little ice on the road back there. For driving around town, where I live, there's quite a bit of traffic. I live on the East Coast outside of Boston. It's not that it can't drive in traffic. It's that the car is so cautious in traffic that everybody around you ends up just annoyed when you're doing it. So I typically don't do it a lot. Other than when I'm shooting videos, I'll kind of push it to the limit a little bit. Even when I'm shooting videos, I'm going to stop short of, just intentionally annoying people. Which is why a little bit, they really went overboard with the salt. We didn't even get any snow. I don't know why they had salt trucks out last night. Kind of ridiculous. I'm a human driver too. When I'm not in FSD, and it's annoying to have people that are just lost and confused, don't know what they're doing, and that's kind of what this car's like. So let's see how it handles this. It's slowing way down. It's getting a little confused. Yeah, this is actually worse than the other version. So a stop for this red light for this merging lane. Yeah, I would actually consider this a regression from 11.4.4, which handled that also not very well, but a little bit better. It's by and large pretty good on these back roads. where I've taken it today. I guess this is what I would probably call the easy test. There's not a lot of complexity out here. There's a speed bump. You're going to slow down for it? It slowed down a little bit for it. I'll give it that. It did slow a little bit for it. So it's kind of back roads. It's early in the morning, so there's not a lot of traffic. It's kind of slushy back here, though. I didn't realize that we had this much overnight slush and snow. Another speed bump. Slow down a little bit for it. So the other version, 11.4.4, wouldn't slow down for it really at all. That's not better. Alright. No, we're about to jump this one. It's kind of ridiculous that they have speed bumps in the middle of the road out here, but they do. And it did slow down for the first two, kind of, but I think that one, I thought it was a jump, and I was going to try to ramp off of it. We got another one. It's sort of slowing down for this one. Right. And yet another one that we're just going to jump. They're hard to see, right? The markings on that particular speed bump weren't really there, so it just looked like more blacktop, I think. But I don't know how much effort they put into trying to get the car to slow down for speed bumps, honestly. Alright, so we don't need a blinker here. This is kind of a confusing curve. This is not super great. Car does not know what it's doing. Alright, there's a car coming. I am probably going to need to take over, so let's just see. Actually, no, I haven't had to take over yet. So this is a regression. This is actually handling this quite a bit worse than it did with 11.4.4. It is different conditions, though, guys. Like, this is nighttime. There's snow and slush on the ground that you can see. Last time I did this commute with you guys on YouTube, it was daylight and it was a little bit warmer. There was no slush on the ground, so you're getting the extra experience on a little nighttime drive and lesser conditions, I guess, with the snow and ice. Although I wouldn't really call this snow and ice for the Northeast. All right, let you go a little bit faster than that. If you live in an area where you're kind of mostly driving back roads, kind of like this, and they're just, your commute's mostly like one road that's long and winding, FSD by and large does amazing. I know different areas where they have more training data, basically more people that own Teslas, they tend to do a little better. So areas around California, San Francisco area, Palo Alto area, where Tesla's from, and where they started. You watch the FSD videos from those guys, and it does better. Out here where I live, there's actually a lot of Teslas now. A few years ago when I invested in Tesla, there was maybe 5 Teslas in town. I think now there's 4 Teslas on my street. There's Teslas everywhere, so I would imagine the data here is getting better and better all the time. But it's definitely not perfect. There's no reason to pretend that it is. It's really cool though. And I'm just cruising along. I'm not trying to split. If I was not an FSD, I wouldn't be driving 30, even though it's a 25 mile per hour through here. I'd probably be going 45, but for an FSD and Chat kind of cruise, there's no reason to rush it. Just out enjoying some coffee, observing how the car behaves. So how many of you guys actually have FSD or have used it? I know I've had a few people comment and give me some tips. Like I used to shake the steering wheel, I had a commenter say, hey, you don't have to do that. You can just give it turning force. It works fine. I'm trying to remember that. Another guy gave me a heads up that I can move like the heated seats up to my my dashboard down here. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. I still access my heated seats by going here, clicking in there. I have to turn it up to 1, I think, maybe. Set the heated steering wheel to 1 too. Hard to do that while I'm driving. think that Tesla will eventually live up to its promise of robo-taxis. I do. Yeah, I definitely do. You know, to be completely blunt about it, these cars are capable of robo-taxis now in certain areas. And that's a guarantee. They definitely are. For sure. And Tesla could geofence those in based on the training data that they have. General purpose robo-taxis, I don't know. Like, you know, where they're used in all use cases, I don't know how far out that is. You know, like, this is an easy drive. Let's drive into downtown Boston at rush hour and see how it does. Like, it's going to perform awful. And it's not that the car can't navigate the roads. It's just a hairpin turn. Let's see how this version does. It did it pretty well. Yeah, solid. Good job. Good job. When you're in heavy city-based rush hour traffic, and this is not just going to be Boston, this is going to be every city out there. It's not enough just to know the rules of the road. You have to almost do illegal things like pull out in front of people and know that the human's going to stop for you when you pull out. Otherwise, nobody will let you into traffic. So we are pretty much coming up on Wayside Inn, and this is where I typically take back over. Oh, it's still cruising. Let's see where this thing's going to take us. Looks like it's going to. So no, we're not going to go in there. Nope. Well, I actually was going to try to drive up in there. I'm surprised at that. All right, so let's end this trip and let's navigate back home. That's why I do this time of day. There's nobody around. All right. So I'm curious what some of you other guys think about FSD that have used it, you know, that you have it in your cars or you played with it, what your overall opinion is. I'm a techie. I'm a software engineer these days. I actually have a PhD in medicinal chemistry. Spent the first decade or so of my professional life doing drug discovery, computer-aided drug discovery, and then switched over to software full time. So, you know, kind of understanding loosely the algorithms behind how they're doing this car allows me to just be more amazed than annoyed by it. I think to people that are not techies, that don't understand neural networks or software engineering, they just see the final product, and it's buggy. You know, to the average consumer, it's definitely still buggy. It's not all the way ready. My wife uses it very limitedly. She's getting more and more familiar with it, but it makes her extremely nervous. Even when I'm piloting it, you know, holding my hand on the wheel, when she's next to me, she's very, very nervous with FSD, which is kind of funny because FSD is a much more cautious driver than I personally am. And what she says is, well, I am used to the way you drive at this point. I'm not used to the way this car drives. I'm like, fair enough. I mean, around this corner a little hot. Go over and go straight across. I don't know if you guys can see up here. Maybe we get up close to you, able to see it. You guys really did their Christmas tree lights up. You know, so like, will they have general purpose robo-taxis anytime soon? I think I can definitively say no. This belief that they're one day just going to turn all the cars on and enable, you know, fully autonomous robo-taxis everywhere, no way. Even though in the, you know, recent Twitter spaces with Kathy Wood and Elon is still talking about this great value unlock of being able to switch cars in and, you know, have people plug them into a robo-taxi network. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. This is not good. What are we doing here? Why are we stopping? This is definitely a phantom brake. We're just stopped doing nothing. There's no stop sign. There are no cars. There's nothing around. I actually think 11.4.9 might be a regression from 11.4.4 in this area. I'm going to need to put a few more miles on it, but 4.4 never really did that. That was definitely very strange. This is why we do them early in the day, guys. I want to know how the car truly performs before I put it around traffic. And as you can see, so imagine that we're in heavy traffic. Not even heavy traffic, just kind of regular country road traffic, right? People are coming home from work. So there's a car coming through every 5 seconds or something. You stop like that, first of all, somebody might run into the back of you if they're in a hurry to get home. If they don't run into you, they're going to be mad honking at you. So little things like that. But if it was just a robo-taxi, in a geo-fenced area, humans would know to drive around it. The car can handle it. I mean, it doesn't wreck. It doesn't... So the interesting thing about beta testing FSD, and the fact that it's neural network code, specifically that it's neural network code, means that every single version I get, it's almost like I'm starting over with it. And by the way, this is only my second version. I can speak like this because I understand neural networks. It's not procedural code. It's not like we just added a new, if branch inside the code that says, oh, if we see this condition, do this. It's not like that with neural networks. So the network itself has been retrained. At best, it's been fine-tuned to what was already there. But neural networks are unpredictable. That's not the right way to say it. They're not perfectly predictable because the code is so complex with all the all the layers and all the neurons and all the weights. As Elon likes to say, neural networks are basically just spreadsheets and numbers. I guess that's an interesting way to put it. My brain thinks of it much more conceptually as the neural network in a brain and signals flowing through it. But I also understand that it is just a spreadsheet of weights, essentially. But because of that, because there's so many mathematical operations done to determine, right now this car is doing billions of calculations to figure out how it's going to behave in every one of these circumstances. But those calculations it's doing now, it's the neural network itself is already set in stone. So it's not the neural network is not updating or modifying based on what it's seeing here. This data is sent back to Tesla, to their supercomputer, where they will then optimize it. We'll get a new version that's got optimizations based on the data that this version has collected while it's out. So, long-winded way of saying, every time I get a new version of FSD, I'm almost starting over with how well I trust it, which is why we're doing it so early today. With 11.4.4, I had actually taken it up to Boston Logan. There's actually a video if you guys want to check it out. And it worked pretty well. Again, I didn't do it at heavy commute hours, mostly highway driving, so it's not super bad. Try something different, guys. I want to find a different route to go down. Maybe I'll just go this way without. What if we end this route? Let's just end this. And I'm just gonna put it on FSD and let it cruise. So this should just keep going straight. We'll take it all the way up to here. Just want to do a little bit longer cruise today. I haven't played with this version much, and it's nice and early, so there's no reason to not do it. The sun will be up in a minute. I love this part of New England. It's so pretty back here. A lot of really nice houses. People have a lot of nice things. Some deer in the field over there, which I doubt you guys can see. I'm not sure how much my side camera is going to be useful. I might not even show it in the video today. That's another thing with neural networks. Like I said, with every version, there's a lot of testing that has to be done again to feel that it's right. And so I do wonder, as we progress the technology, and the technology's absolutely progressed. While this is only the second actual version I have personally tested, I've been watching FSD drive videos on YouTube for a while now. I guess it slowed down to 20 miles per hour through here, which is a little bit ridiculous, but it is the speed limit, so the car is doing the right thing by driving the speed limit. So So as the technology progresses, are we, the potential to have, it's just an interesting thing to think about, right? You get a good version. Like I was getting really familiar with 11.4.4, starting to trust it more, as you might say. And by trust it, what I mean is that I probably logged 25, 30 hours with 4.4, which meant I was able to predict how the car was going to kind of respond. Like, oh, this corner is going to be jagged. It's going to jerk the steering wheel. This is going to do great here. There was a car pulling out, it's probably going to stop. I was able to really predict how it was going to behave in a lot of scenarios because I drive it in the same scenarios all the time. With this one, I'm still getting used to that. Scenarios that the other version behaved good in, this one is now behaved not quite as good in. All right, this guy should go, but he's not going, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a little extra bump. He wants to go this way. He's going to regret not having gotten in front of me, but he didn't. It's all right. So what happens if we get a version out that's pretty good and people really start trusting it? And Tesla puts out a new version that introduces new bugs, and now the people are expecting this thing to always work, and it doesn't. These are the kind of things that that can happen with neural network kind of code, and it's not things that people think about a lot. When we think about software, we typically think of software as like just getting better all the time, and of course we've all used software that introduced bugs that weren't there, but in general software just continues to get better. But in the case of something like FSD, if you start trusting the car to do certain things and then it starts behaving differently, that can be tough. Right now it's not a big deal. We are beta testers. I want to emphasize that. I sometimes get frustrated with it too, and I see other guys do. I watched Dr. Know-It-All yesterday, and he actually sounds just like me driving it. He's kind of annoyed with some of the things it's doing. At the end of the day, it's beta software. This is not ready for prime time. That's why we're doing it. Although, he's done wide release with it now, so anybody that wants to beta test it can pay for it and do that. A lot of people say that's ridiculous. You should pay for something you're going to beta test. Well, don't pay for it and don't be a beta tester. What do you want me to say to that? Don't do it. There's nobody strong-arming you that says you have to pay for it to beta test it. I'm perfectly happy to do it. I think this is really cool. This is actually the first time I've had it in this particular road section, so this is all new behavior I'm experiencing. Again, it's the same kind of road, so it's not like a lot of people out hiking really early today. I find that strange. It's so dark out. Why are they in those little hiking spots? Even if it takes 5 more years, I know that so many Tesla investors will just be appalled, and it's because Elon's been promising FSD for 4 years now. Even if it takes another full 5 years before we have truly autonomous vehicles that people are trusting, that the behavior's worked out and ironed out, so we know it's kind of reproducible in situations. 5 years is nothing, guys. It's maybe it's my age showing. I'll be 50 in January. 5 years is a tenth of my life, so it is still a fair amount. All right, I'm gonna let it keep navigating. I have it on full self-driving without directions, so the car is just navigating wherever the hell it wants to go. It comes to complete stops at stop signs. Tesla said that they approached the National Highway Transportation Safety Authority about letting it do rolling stops. They said no, which threw Tesla for a wrinkle, because apparently only 0.5% of all the video footage they have drivers that come to complete stops. So they had to go through and manually curate people that actually stop full stops at stop signs, and then overtrain the network on those cases to get it to actually stop. These things are really only a big deal when you live in a world with impatient human drivers. As soon as humans are somewhat out of the loop, let's see which way we're going to go. When humans are out of the loop and all cars are stopping, who cares? Nobody's going to be that impatient. Cool, we're going to loop back around this way. Stopping at the red light. I actually kind of like this, let it cruise wherever the hell it wants to go. See, I'm not going to get too bitchy about it this time, but that is, when there's no traffic around, it's not that big of a deal. When you're in traffic and you pull into an intersection, then you pause like that, it's not cool. You guys have heard me bitch about that on every video. That is still, without a doubt, my biggest complaint about FSD. So yeah, I spent time thinking about how we're gonna make the transition to electric vehicles and stuff like that. Not to electric vehicles, to autonomous vehicles. All right, taking it out here. I'm gonna go straight. I was really confused. I didn't know what it was gonna do there. All right, don't go. Nope. What are you doing, guys? I think that we're about to run that red light right next to a cop. So I thought it was gonna run the red light, and there's a cop next to me. Send a little bug report back to Tesla there. Actually, probably navigate home now. Come pretty good ways out here. Let's go this way. So if I were to engage it now with those red lights, will it? No, it just wants to run right through those guys. Like, this is a major bug. It actually wanted to try to run the red light again. You can see the red light here, guys, right? Like, you see the two red lights on the screen. Like, it should be aware of it, but it keeps trying to run it. All right, let's go. I can hit it up now. All right. I have definitely heard other YouTubers that do these videos talk about regressions in the software. I think we're cruising a little too fast through here. 40 would be fine for me. My coffee's a little cold, man. If I find another Starbucks, actually, how if we do that? Navigate to the nearest Starbucks. Boston Post wasn't up till 7. Never mind. All right, where was I at? Just rambling on about FSD, I think. So thinking about how this technology scales out to lots of people when it gets good enough, and how we make the transition. I actually think it's going to be pretty slow. I just do. And even though the technology is actually close. I mean, you guys are watching this car drive itself. You've also seen it do some stuff that's clearly not fully ready yet. But you can also imagine how if they wanted to start releasing this in certain areas, they could easily just overfit a couple versions to a few areas and it would work flawlessly there. And they could do it for other areas and other areas. And maybe they will do something like that. But it's going to be most useful. Full stop. It honestly is kind of weird to be in a car that comes to a full, complete stop, because I bet almost all of you watching this do not come to a complete stop at a stop sign. And if you do, I have respect for having the patience, I guess. When I'm in this car and it actually stops at the stop sign completely, you feel it. It feels like time stops. Like it feels like an eternity when you're stopping before you go again. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, I think that, you know, I'm 50 years old. There's pretty much zero question in my mind that I am going to live to see fully autonomous vehicles, robo-taxi specifically, that can take people around. What's not clear to me is if they are going to let cars that individuals own, like this car, like me, have a truly fully autonomous vehicle that I could just send to the store to, or send out to rent as part of a robo-taxi network, or even that I could just put in full autonomous mode and like sitting here like this and stop paying attention. I can think of a couple of key problems with that. One, if I stop paying attention completely while I'm just hanging out and talking and bump this steering wheel and knock it out of full self-driving, wreck and die. So you can't have that, right? And most of you watching this like, oh, that would never happen. Oh, I assure you it'll happen. Like, humans are stupid. There's already people, using autopilot, and autopilot didn't have the same warnings, which I think they just got with the new updates, and that they have to pay attention much more closely now too. But there's been reports of people putting weights on the steering wheel to get rid of the nag, and then like laying down and taking naps in the car while it's driving. That's insane. It's irresponsible. And it's insane. You're not just endangering your life, you're endangering other people's lives doing that. So, again, on the highway, it's probably going to perform pretty well like that. You can do it anywhere else, not so much. So it's really hard to predict how far out it is. I did find it really heartening that Elon said that he thought that the NHTSA, National Highway Safety Transportation Authority, I think I'm saying that right, it might be backwards, that they're actually very reasonable. His argument is that they see the actual data. They see the number of wrecks, the number of lives that are lost every year due to driving. And so they're actually very open to technology that can improve safety. And I think that's very heartening, right? I'm going to be honest with you, something that I worry about getting this across the line is Elon's mouth. I love Elon. There's a part of me that's happy that somebody like him is willing to kind of stick it in the eye of the politicians that are just being ridiculous at times. The investor in me says, but when you do this, you draw the ire of all these organizations, and then you just create hurdles for yourself. And so I do fear that there's some of that. I think we're seeing some of that now. I think there's a lot of agencies that are kind of anti-Elon, and because of that, Elon is the face of Tesla. But I will say that I have seen Elon trying to do things that don't anchor the SEC a little bit more. He's no longer promising when he thinks FSD will be ready and stuff like that. But his incessant need to comment on every political detail of everything out there. I mean, look, he has free speech just like the rest of us do. So I don't know where it was going. I thought we were headed home this time. Let's set this home. End trip. Boom. Home. Let's get this turn. I'm just going to go ahead and take this turn myself, and then we'll put it back on. Alright. See how we do with the upcoming speed bumps. Yeah, I'm paying attention. It always tells me this right away. And it's new. I think that's meant to be like two hands on the steering wheel, but it looks like headphones. It's kind of strange little icon. So that's new with the recall. For an example, like the way the news media runs reports about Tesla. When they had their recall, it was a recall of all vehicles that they were just adding basically more driver assist features or more alerting features to people on autopilot. And the news just ran with it. There's, Tesla vehicles are not as safe as they say. All vehicles have been recalled. This is a big disaster for Tesla. It's like literally no cars went to the dealership. It was just a software update that just simply added a few more warnings to the screen. But Elon has pissed off the powers that be, especially on the left side of the political spectrum at this point. And it's just the way our culture is at this point. I mean, it's really sad. And again, I'm not making political statements one way or the other. I'm not going to get into that. It's just not worth getting into that. I will give you this little tidbit. I consider myself kind of a moderate. I'm annoyed with each party for entirely different reasons. And that's all I'm going to say about politics. But Elon commenting on things of political nature and getting involved in everything. Elon is one of the most gifted people on this planet. And I know some people will take issue with that. I don't care. As an engineer myself, and a card-carrying PhD holder in science, Elon is gifted. Not just in his ability to do, engineering and thinking like an engineer, and his ability to also start companies and raise money and orchestrate organizations and technological enhancements. He is a very, very gifted individual, and he needs an outlet. You know, and I think that outlet for him is Twitter. And sometimes I love it. Like when he's talking about SpaceX or talking about Tesla, I love it. When he goes on tangents about politics and commenting on the Russia-Ukraine war, or, you know, commenting on Israel-Hamas war and stuff, whether you agree with him or not, he would be better served to have a little bit more emotional maturity and not comment on these kind of things. And I know a lot of people watching this like, oh hell no, we need somebody to stick it to them. I don't disagree with that. He does have the money to kind of stand up and do that. But if you're somebody who also wants to see this technology progress and get there faster, his actions, his words, the ire that he draws to the regulars and people, when you're a polarizing figure, it doesn't help you. Now, I suppose a counter argument to that could be that, well, if he's pissing off one side of the political aisle, he's making the other side happy, and maybe they'll defend him. Well, maybe. I don't know. I think it's better just to be politically neutral when you run a company. Personally, I think that's the right approach. But then I don't run a company, so nobody really cares what I think, right? I work for companies. I don't own them at this point. I have owned a couple businesses, but not anything like a publicly traded company, obviously. So I think there's details like that that are going to slow this process down. But I also think that when the data is overwhelmingly on the side of FSD, that it'll be too hard to ignore, Elon or not. You know, when this technology makes cars way safer and way less people die because the car is driving this stuff and humans aren't doing it, not only is the National Highway Transportation Safety Authority going to be okay with it, insurance companies probably initially will give you a reduced rate if you're using full self-driving, and eventually they might start charging you a penalty if you choose to not drive with FSD, which will eventually give way to at some point deep in the future where they won't insure human drivers. That sounds dystopian right now, by the way, and it would be dystopian to do anything like that today, because we are nowhere near humans giving up driving privileges or anything like that. And I don't know if I live to see it. There's going to be some sort of hybrid ground. It's so hard to predict how this plays out. You know, as a technologist, though, I'm looking at the car and the technology, and I'm like, they are going to solve this. There is no question they're going to solve this. You know, it is solved in the easy cases. And so, as Elon likes to say, it's the march of nines. Well, it's a really long march of nines, because figuring out how to behave in scenarios that you've never seen before, you know, when you compare like the neural networks involved in driving this car, as complex as they are, they pale in comparison to the neural network in my skull that my eyes are feeding information to. Again, I think I just got older and grew some gray hairs coming to a complete stop at that stop sign. It is strange to come to a complete stop, especially when there's no traffic around. So what are your guys' opinion? How do you think we get to fully autonomous vehicles or to a robo-taxi future? What do you see as the big hurdles? You know, I think they're substantial, personally. But I also think they're surmountable. Like I said, there is zero question that Tesla could release this as a robo-taxi right now today in certain jurisdictions. The question is, why are they not doing it? Probably because they don't have the vehicle yet to do it. I would guess that when the autonomous vehicle comes out, whether that's I'm guessing it'll be a van of some sort. I don't know though. And then they'll do it in geo-fenced areas. And this will be a big letdown to the Tesla community, because the Tesla bros. I am one of the Tesla bros, by the way. We've all been kind of clamoring for why Tesla's better than Waymo is that, well, Waymo has to do it in these geo-fenced areas with LiDAR, and yeah, while they're first to market doing it, that pales in comparison to what Tesla's going to be able to do, and they're going to be able to do it everywhere. Guys, Tesla's not going to be doing this everywhere in the beginning. I 100% guarantee you that is the truth. Even though it's really good in San Francisco, I guarantee you it's awful in San Francisco at rush hour. I'm sure that it is. As soon as the car has to make decisions that don't abide by the exact rules of the law, and it has to engage like a human, it can't do it. It just can't do it yet. And I don't know how we're going to solve some of these problems. there's an intuition that goes on between humans when we're driving cars with each other, and you don't even necessarily have to make eye contact with them. You just know, like, that person pauses just ever so slightly. That pause gives you enough signal that says, okay, I can go now. And you do. You go ahead and go now, and they're not slowing way down for you. They just kind of let off the brake and come right up on you, and you'll have to do the same thing. You know, let's see how it pulls out here. Like, complete stop, and then it gets going. This is pretty good. Didn't pause too much there. Kind of went for it. All that, you know, figuring out those little human micro interactions, whatever you want to call them. You know, once there's more and more robo-taxis on the streets, especially if they're part of a robo-taxi network, they're not individual ownership cars, at that point, the robo-taxis can absolutely communicate with each other and give each other information about what's coming, what's changing. But I also think that we might need one more step jump in technology to get there. And that step jump might be that right now the onboard neural networks are just doing inference, but meaning they're just running the models. I think that to really pull this off, we might need these models to be able to fine-tune themselves on the fly based on the environment that they're in. So we all get pretty good general robotaxi or FSD software. And then as you're driving in your local area, the car is fine-tuning itself to where you are predominantly. That would go a long ways to making it better. It doesn't do that yet. Again, a complete stop here, which is an awkward feeling. But there's nobody out, so it's all good. The regenerative braking in the Tesla makes the stops feel so much more sudden. It would be useful if the FSD team would fix that. I don't know exactly how they fix it because the regenerative braking is real, but basically let off the accelerator slower and slower so it simulates like a normal car, a non-regenerative braking car. Alright guys, we're coming back to the neighborhood, coming back home. This was an interesting drive. I would score this a little lower than I did on the last drive I did in 11.4.4. Just a couple of odd places where it really slows down and gets kind of confused. But all in all, pretty solid.